Hi guys, it's Bree. Welcome to my channel, Just Breezy. And if you're not a subscriber already, please consider being one. Just be sure to hit the bell for notifications, because guys, I don't want you to miss out. We are uploading weekly content. Now listen, life isn't always, as my channel says, just breezy. But together, when we share our ideas and stories, it can be a little easier. Now, I'm not sure if you know, but November is Adoption Awareness Month. And since my family has been through the adoption process, and we're actually going on a year of celebrating our adoption day for our son, I wanted to share our adoption story. You know, many people who know us, they know it or part of it, and people that I've met just sort of in everyday life or through social media, they've asked, you know, out of curiosity, well, how did that come to be? How did your family of four come to be through adoption? And through my Facebook channel and just sort of me in general, I'm pretty open about things because I truly believe that when we share our experiences, it connects people. You know, it makes people feel like they're not so alone in things that are going on. So I'm a mom of two kids. One I had sort of the traditional way of getting pregnant and giving birth, and the other one I had through adoption. And I decided that when we were going to tell sort of our adoption story, I wanted to make sure it was going to be honest and genuine, but also respectful towards my family, towards my son, because it's not just my story to tell, it's his too. You know, he's only going to be 5, so I want it to be something that if he looks at this or anybody that knows him looks at this, it's not too, I guess, exposing to him. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best to sort of tell that story and keep to those sort of guidelines that I set for myself and our family. I've decided also that just like a good book, you know, I mean, unless it's a really great book and you bang it out in one read, you read a chapter and you put it down and you come back to it. So I'm going to break this up in a couple of different videos just to sort of make it a little easier to watch. You know, not everybody has like 40 minutes to just sit down and watch things. So for this sort of chapter, I'm just going to start by saying that oddly enough, when I was a little girl, I had always envisioned having 2, maybe 3 kids, but at least 2. And I would always say that one was going to be through sort of the traditional way that I would always see as a little kid. You know, your belly gets big, you give birth, there's your baby. And the other one in my head was going to be through adoption. I also always wanted to adopt, you know, a child that was a little older than a baby, and in my mind it was always going to be a boy. As a kid, I don't know why, that's just sort of how I saw it, that I was going to give birth to a little girl and adopt a little boy. And by no means am I saying I'm Nostradamus over here. My dog just loves, Walter, he just loves being in these videos. But yeah, I'm not claiming that like I saw into the future, but it's just funny that happens to be the way it worked out. And then as I got older, I realized, well, what if I don't meet somebody what if I meet somebody but they don't have those same dreams that I do? So when I met my husband and we talked about starting a family, he definitely, and he'll say, you know, being a dad and having kids wasn't something that was like, oh, he had to do. You know, I think he felt like he could live a very fulfilled and happy life, not really knowing what he didn't have until he became a dad. And then he'll say like, of course I was meant to be a dad, and he's an amazing dad. So when we tried to get pregnant at first, it took us about a little over 2 years. And I want to talk about that a little bit because I know so many people go through sort of infertility issues and struggles having their first child, and we did for 2 years. You know, I did Clomid, which is sort of like that first medication they put you on to regulate your cycle, and I remember every month like thinking, okay, if I wish this sort of hard enough, if I wish it into existence and have sex with my husband, it will happen, and it didn't. And every month it didn't. And I would, you know, get my period, or I would take a pregnancy test because I was so sure that I was pregnant, and I wasn't. And I can remember at that time in my life, a lot of people around me were getting pregnant or having their second baby, and I would like to say I was really happy for everyone else, but I wasn't. It's just terrible to say, but I wasn't, because I was so caught up in my own grief over missing someone that didn't even exist yet, if that makes any sense. Like every month that I wasn't pregnant, where I thought I was, I felt like I died a little inside because I was grieving somebody that wasn't yet to be. It was sort of like this hope and this love that I had for someone that truly didn't even exist yet. So that wasn't a fun time in life. It was really difficult. And I know a lot of people go through that. And then people go through like all different type of intervention to become pregnant. And for us, we didn't, we just decided not to. And we were talking about adoption because that was also something that I, like I said, always sort of dreamed of doing. So we started looking into the adoption avenue, and sure enough, and I've heard this from many people, the minute that we stopped focusing on, we have to have sex this day and at this time and this many times, and I wound up getting pregnant. And I remember the day I was at home and I was thinking, it's been a hot minute since I've had my period. I doubt I'm pregnant. But I went and I took a pregnancy test and it was positive. So then I bought like 5 more because I didn't believe it. And I could remember at the time calling my therapist because I was going to therapy to help me through some anxiety. And I said to her, I'm telling you because I know you can't tell anybody anything I say and I need to tell someone. And we were just ecstatic. We were over the moon. And then, 9 months, we had our daughter, and I think we both sort of thought, okay, at this point in our life, we have this age difference between us, we're gonna be sort of one and done, and we'll be a family of 3, and that's okay. And then as Riley got a little older, probably around 3 years old, she started asking for a sibling because she saw all of her friends and their mommies having babies, and she would say that she was lonely. Oh, and that would like crush my soul. And I would try to tell her, well, you have your cousins that are right around your age and you have your friends, and it didn't quite fill that void that she was feeling. And mommies and daddies out there that only have one kid, I'm not saying your child is walking around feeling lonely. I have friends that are only children and they'll say to me, they never knew any different and they had a wonderful life and close relationships with all sorts of people. So, but for us, that's how our daughter sort of explained it. And I would try to tell her, like, mommy's belly only makes one, and try to highlight all the wonderful things about being a family of 3. And then things changed a little bit when we found out about the existence of our now son, which is sort of the next chapter. So I'm gonna stop here. If anyone's interested in continuing to sort of know that story, please check out the next video. If you have any questions about anything I just shared, please feel free to share them in the comments. I have no problem discussing if you have any questions or your own experiences. But yeah, we're gonna chat again soon and I will share the rest of our adoption story. Okay guys, thanks so much for checking it out.